Hey, thanks for checking out Bonfire Sports and a week 2 post-game breakdown for the Blue Bombers following their 20-7 win over the Toronto Argonauts. Just got home from the stadium, wanted to be sure to check in with you guys and break this one down quickly. It's a little bit late, it's after midnight already, but this is for your morning watching, of course. I hope I don't look too tired, but these are long days on game days for the players, for the media, everybody. But this was an interesting game to watch. It didn't go exactly as maybe a lot of people anticipated. McLeod Bethel Thompson throws for 354 yards in Calgary in week 1. It was a short week for them, but the Argos came into Winnipeg on Friday night and offensively definitely looked like a different group than that, the one that faced the Calgary Stampeders 6 days earlier. But let's get into what we saw in this game. And it was early where Mike O'Shea made a very interesting and turned out to be correct decision. They always play the field position game so well. That's what teams built on special teams do. And in this case, they had Toronto backed up deep in their own end. And it was a really smart move by Mike O'Shea to accept a penalty, take back that punt single from Mark Leggio, and ultimately it worked out for them because Toronto went 2 and out from their own 4, then another no yards penalty on their punt. Winnipeg started on Toronto's 40-yard line. 2 plays later, Rasheed Bailey has his first CFL touchdown. If you remember, he nearly had one in the 107th Grey Cup for the Blue Bombers. It was overturned due to video review. I remember that one. On first glance, it looked like he had it. Video review showed that it did hit the turf in the end zone. So Rasheed Bailey spoke passionately after the game. We're going to hear from Rasheed Bailey a little bit later and his comments. His family is going through some tough times right now. He has a relative, I believe it's a niece in the hospital, who had an allergic reaction. So this was a big night for him, pulling in that 35-yard touchdown early. But Toronto offensively just continued to struggle and struggle. Jackson Jeffcoat with a big sack on McLeod Bethel Thompson. He really couldn't get anything going in that game. Toronto went 3 and out, 2 and out, 2 and out, then had a 7-play drive that ended in a punt. Outside of John White, who really put up some good numbers in this game. He averaged 9.3 yards per carry, ripped off a couple long ones, including 5 of 10 or more, 2 runs of 20 yards or more. He had 12 carries for 111 yards. They did a good job running the football against Winnipeg. Having a 100-yard rusher, Mike O'Shea mentioned after the game that that's a number they don't really look at. It's one that fans and media like talking about, a 100-yard rusher in the game. Richie Hall has said it over and over again. 0s, 1s, and 3s. That's 0 touchdowns. 1, they'll take singles, and 3s. They'd rather have field goals than anything. And that's what really, outside of that touchdown that the Toronto Argonauts scored tonight, they were able to do. It was Nick Arbuckle who came into this game, and he started to look a little bit better. Completed his first 6 passes, which was great. For Toronto, they finally started to get something going. There were some turnover issues in this game. Ultimately, Arbuckle threw an interception. How about Deatrick Nichols? Led the XFL with 3 interceptions in their shortened 2020 season. Comes to Winnipeg. By far and away their best rookie defensive back through training camp. You'd know that if you checked out Bonfire Sports during training camp. It was clear and adamant to me. He's playing halfback, one of those more difficult spots to play. But Winnipeg has 4 rookies playing in their defensive secondary right now. Obviously, Mercy Maston going down with an Achilles injury. And then Josh Johnson, the veteran, most recently with the Edmonton Elks, joined the Blue Bombers in 2020 and started at the dimeback or the strong side linebacker this season in place of Mercy Maston. He suffered a hand injury in week 1. He's on the 6-game injured list. So you enter Josh Miller, in addition to David Rivers, you got DeAndre Alford and Nichols and Mike Jones, a second-year player, big Grey Cup performer, moving into that dime-back spot. So lots of changes there, but the run defense is where Winnipeg allowed things. They've been rock solid. pass defense this year, going up against some serious arm power in Jeremiah Masoli in week 1 and in McLeod Bethel-Thompson in week 2 with a lot of receivers through those groups as well. As far as Winnipeg running the football, Brady Oliveira, maybe almost a yin and yang performance compared to the week prior, where he was 6 yards a carry and 126 on the ground and 20 receiving as well. He had 13 carries for 29 yards, just 2.2 yards per carry. But that's what good football teams do. If one thing isn't working, you make up for it in another area. Zach Colarus, 32 completions on 40 attempts. He was 80%, nearly hit that 300-yard mark. He put up 292 tonight, 2 touchdowns, had that 1 interception along a 35. Great quarterback efficiency rating of 105. We'll hear from Zach Colarus in a minute here as well on Bonfire Sports. But Kenny Lawler continues to be his favorite target. Had 12 targets, 10 catches, 99 yards, averaging just under 10 yards per reception, had a long of 13, 3 second down conversions for Kenny Lawler. He is the go-to guy in this Blue Bombers offense right now, no doubt about that. Nick Demski had 8 catches on 9 targets, did have the fumble in the game, but I felt he really made up for it on that touchdown pass in the second half from Zach Colarus, right on the money. I asked Nick Demski if he could have thrown it any better. No. One-word answer. It was pinpoint perfect. And Demski, as I tweeted during the game, caught it the hard way, got his hands up, didn't basket catch it, did it the hard way and the right way, and really tough to defend when a receiver does that on a perfect pass. Says a lot about Nick Demski. I think he is really, while Kenny Lawler might be the go-to guy and the number 1 guy, Nick Demski continues to be so versatile, the Canadian Swiss Army knife, I like to call him, running the football, misdirection, a lot of different ways that Buck Pierce uses him in this offense. And then, of course, just a great receiver when it comes down to it. You know, we mentioned John White. He had a fumble in this game as well. And when he did, Winnipeg took advantage. It was that Nick Demski scored 2 plays later to put them up in this game. Charles Nelson with a nice punt return in this game in the fourth quarter, 32 yards, brought it to the Toronto 54. And, you know, Toronto did get the ball back. They were trailing by a score. And Deatrick Nichols really iced this game with that interception and a 19-yard return to the Toronto 25-yard line. Winnipeg was in the red zone. They settled for a 3 instead of a 6. Mike O'Shea took a critical timeout on 2nd and 10 in the red zone. They weren't able to convert. Rasheed Bailey nearly pulled in his 2nd touchdown of the game. Funny, Lawler got 2 in game 1. Bailey nearly pulls in his 2nd in game 2 tonight. You know, everybody's been down talking this Blue Bombers receiving core going into the season. You look at Toronto, Saskatchewan, BC, a lot of teams added a lot of receivers, even Montreal being talked about having a lot of receiving core talent. Winnipeg's maybe a sleeper. If you're a fantasy player, you got to start looking at these Blue Bombers receivers. They're making things happen. It's amazing what you can do when you got a serious passing threat in Zach Colarus in that group. One more thing I wanted to mention was Jesse Briggs. Now, the Blue Bombers lost their starting weak side linebacker during training camp. Kyrie Wilson has a hip flexor, missed the first 2 games of the season. In came Jontrell Rockamore, a straight into the CFL first-year rookie. Started in week 1, had an interception, played strongly throughout the game. He was injured either in that game or during the practice week. He's on the 1-game injured list with another hip injury, coincidentally. So in enters 7-year veteran Jesse Briggs. Mike O'Shea talked about it during the week. You heard about it on our pregame show, Game Day Winnipeg, here on Bonfire Sports. Chris Walby spoke as glowingly about Jesse Briggs as Mike O'Shea did as well. A very cerebral, smart player, a quiet leader inside the locker room, and one of those guys alongside Mike Miller and Shane Gauthier that really lead things on special teams. The Bombers have a special teams coordinator in Paul Boudreau, but when they're on the field and all the intricacies and crazy things that can happen in the CFL happen on special teams, they've got 3 guys there that know this game as well as anybody in the CFL. But Jesse Briggs translating those smarts into the defensive side and really stepping in and stepping up on Friday night in that win over the Argonauts. And, it just shows the depth this Blue Bombers team has. Willie Jefferson, something I should mention as well. There were moments in that game where he looked like he was favoring his ankle a little bit. He was listed as questionable for the game, but he did go. He did play. I didn't see him limited at all. He looked pretty much like his normal self and was in both McLeod Bethel-Thompson and Nick Arbuckle's face tonight a lot. So it says a lot about where Willie Jefferson is with these bumps and bruises that he's battling through. It was a head injury and a ankle injury. He was testing that ankle during warmups. I saw him kind of leaping around on the one foot, really pressing into it. But in the game, outside of limping a little bit, like a tiny bit between plays, he looked really good. That'll do it for this breakdown following the Bombers' 20-7 win over the Argos. How about 13 points allowed for this Blue Bombers defense through the first 2 games of the season? They'll play the Argos again next week. But right now, let's hear from head coach Mike O'Shea, quarterback Zach Colarus. Maybe we'll hear from Jesse Briggs as well. And maybe a little bit of Rasheed Bailey following his first CFL touchdown. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit all those good buttons. Helps us out a lot here on Bonfire Sports. Go back and check out the pregame show. Chris Walby joins me, as you know, every week he will for game day Winnipeg. And look at that. My battery's dying. I had to hit that alert there. I'm tired. Everybody's tired. But of course, that energy flows a lot better when you got those thousands of fans live and in person for CFL football like we have this year. So stay tuned for those hits as well. And the pregame show, as I mentioned, we got highlights from week 1. We're going to have those in the pregame show every week as well. My name's Darrin Bauming. You know that. Keep that fire stoked. Thanks for logging in and tuning in to Bonfire Sports. First take, you step off the field. What did you like from your offense tonight, and where do you need to be better?
Yeah, I think we did enough to win the game. Obviously we won the game. If you brought anybody in here from the offense, I think they would say, we needed to just continue to focus on every single play and treat it one play at a time. I know it's cliche, but the plays that we've left out there, this season, have been preventable. And that starts with me.
Nick, could Zach have put that ball more perfectly than he did on your touchdown?
No, he couldn't. I mean, I love playing with Zach. He has great touch out there. We still have a lot of things to work on the offense, but I mean, I love playing with Zach, and I know he's a playmaker. I know he wants to get the playmakers the ball too. So I mean, it was a great throw.
Can you just tell us why that touchdown catch means so much to you?
Man, you can go back to the Grey Cup, 2019, almost 2 years ago, I think, a year and a half ago, when it was taken away, and how much emotion and how much passion I put into this game and how much work I put in. That touchdown, it symbolizes everything, my hard work, my dedication. I'm saying, I love my teammates, man. They made it special. Like Yoshi rolling on the ground with me, K-Law give me love, everybody, Collaros, man, they know how hard I've been working for that moment, and it was special. I'm not going to lie.
It sounds like you were playing with a heavy heart tonight, considering what's going on with someone in your family.
Yeah, my family is. I literally just got off the phone with them. They're in the hospital right now. I just asked the whole world, everybody, just pray for my family. My little cousin's only 12 years old, and she had an allergic reaction, and it's not looking really. It's not looking too good, but it's always up to God at the end. And if we could just keep praying and, have it on your heart, my family would definitely appreciate it.
For some of the young DBs, first and second year guys that are really stepping into big roles in this defense, you practice against them all week and all through training camp. What are you seeing in those young guys?
I think they've really bought into what we do, systematically on defense, and they're very talented guys. They've been tough to go against day one of defense, since day one of camp, excuse me, and they're going to continue to get better as they learn this game. Our boundaries look very good, but I'm sure those two guys would tell you that they got to continue to get better, and everybody would. But they've been outstanding so far.
I was wondering if you could take us through that interception. It seemed like you were jogging on the spot. The ball went over Biggie's hand, and you just were waiting for it. Can you kind of take us through that?
Yes. It was a play that we ran multiple times in practice. My forward going up the seam and just trusting my safety right there, BA right there to pick up that guy, and I become free for the deep dig, and it happened just like that.
Your club has displayed playing the field position game extremely well through the first two games of the season. Would you agree with that statement? Can you speak to the importance of it in the CFL?
Well, I would agree with it to a point till when the head coach throws a challenge flag when he doesn't have any timeouts left and he costs us a first down and 10 yards and keeps the drive going. And I mean, that's, I think we try to play smart football, and then I go ahead and try and muck it all up, which isn't very pleasing. I think I owe the guys something for that one.
The tide had turned there with Arbuckle coming in, it seemed to Mike. 10-7 it becomes, and very much a new game. Then I don't know how good a look you got at the Jesse Briggs hit that forced that fumble, but talk about the importance of that and talk about Jesse a bit making his start.
Yeah, I thought Arbuckle came in and strung together a nice drive, obviously. Nobody in the building is surprised with Jesse Briggs. We know from very early on in his career what he can do. We just, on a weekly basis, we just don't give him that opportunity, right? Because of the way we shape our roster. But we have full confidence in Jesse going in, and obviously knowing everything, he'll be without reps in practice. He will go in and play at a very high level of execution and make very few mistakes. We drafted him because he was very athletic. He ran extremely well. He's very strong. So there's lots to like. I thought Jesse played a good game. There was another hit that he came through the hole early on and stacked up the running back. It was a good hit. The bench was pretty fired up because it was a good hit, not because it was Jesse making the hit, because it was anybody that had a real good hit. So on a personal level, I do feel good for Jesse because I know that we limit his opportunities. And so when he gets a good opportunity like this, I'm just very happy for him personally, because then you get questions like this where inside the building, once again, we know that he's quite capable of doing very good things for us. And, we know we're going to win when he's in there too.